Well, there were some significant results at both ends of the National One table in round 17, not least at the summit where title candidates Richmond were knocked off top spot. Now, they travelled to a Sale FC side who were winless in 6 going into last weekend, but a brilliant second half display, which included a hat-trick from Sale Sharks youngster Alfie Longstaff, saw Richmond fall to a 32-18 loss at Haywood Road. A brilliant result and a brilliant victory for Sale FC, and arguably one of their finest results in a fair while after Jonathan Keep's side came back from 18-17 down at half-time to claim this welcome win. From a Richmond perspective, it was a reshuffled side again from Rob Powell, but the bigger picture is they've now lost 2 of their last 3 games in National One and have failed to pick up bonus points in either of those matches, and it has meant the title rivals Rams have taken full advantage as they recorded a 36-19 bonus point success against Leicester Lions last time out to move to the top of National One. Now, Seb Reynolds' side were 12-0 down early on against Leicester Lions, but they fought back to level things up at 12-all at the break before going on to claim their 3rd victory in a row. And how things can change from Rams' point of view. If you cast your mind back to just before Christmas, they had actually lost 3 games in a row against their fellow top 4 counterparts in Richmond, Rotherham and Roslyn Park. But now their current run of form has seen them move 4 points clear at the top of National One as we begin the final third of the season. So the dynamic has changed in the title race once again. At the other end of the standings, Esher gave their hopes of staying in National One a bit of a boost last time out with a brilliant 54-42 victory over 4th placed Roslyn Park. Quite the way for Peter Winterbottom's side to end a 4-game run without a win. And yes, they conceded 4 tries in the first half at Molesey Road against Roslyn Park. But what Esher have had in their locker this season is the ability to score points and the ability to score tries. And that is exactly what they did last Saturday. They did lead 42-28 at one stage. Their lead was cut to 5 points with 4 minutes to go before Owen Waters' try sealed the deal for the E's and sealed a very, very good victory for Esher. And that win means they have leapfrogged Leicester Lions up to 12th place in the National One standings, whilst Sedgley Park, who sit in 10th position, continued their upward progress. It's now 1 defeat in the last 6 games for Scott Barrow's troops as they beat Bishop Stortford 22-19 away from home last Saturday. And at the top then, confirmation that Rams now hold a 4-point lead over Richmond, while Rotherham Titans are level with Richmond following 8 wins from their last 9 games. A powerful display away at Dean's Crusaders, who've been pretty strong at home this term, earned the Titans a 45-26 victory. And Rotherham boss Harvey Billion told the Yorkshire Post last week that title talk wasn't on their agenda, but you have to say they are firmly in the mix with Rams and Richmond as we enter February this weekend. And speaking of both Rams and Richmond, they are in action this coming Saturday, with Rams travelling to Sale FC, and Sale FC are actually our first feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. And of course, we've highlighted that fabulous win that Sale FC picked up last weekend against Richmond, and it's given them a little bit of a buffer between themselves and the teams below them in the standings. But the 11th place side felt that kind of performance and victory that they earned against Richmond was just around the corner. They may have felt that against Rotherham Titans in round 16, where they put in a really good display away from home. But that win against Richmond will hopefully, from their perspective, give them the platform to build into the next block of fixtures, which Sale FC have. And that begins this weekend against the new league leaders Rams in the Northwest. Now, Sale have been a bit of a thorn in Ramsey's side in recent years, with Sale winning the last 3 meetings between the teams at Hayward Road. And if you remember in the 2022-23 campaign, both Sale FC and Rams were involved in that epic title race with Cambridge. So they have had some really big clashes in recent times. But the most recent meeting back in September went the way of Rams, who beat Sale 33-0 at Old Bath Road. But what is guaranteed is that Rams and Sale always serve up cracking contests. So to build up to the latest instalment as Sale FC versus Rams, we caught up with Sale Director of Rugby Jonathan Keep and Head Coach Anthony Howcroft. And Jonathan, just to start with you, and I think there's only really one place to start, and that is that result last weekend for you guys over Richmond, that 32-18 victory at Hayward Road. And I know you said on Sunday that the lads really deserved that one after some narrow losses during the difficult run you had been on. So how delighted was everyone come full time to get that victory and in the manner that you achieved it as well?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of a weight off our shoulders, to be honest, in terms of waiting for that victory. Like you said, we've had a few close losses over the last sort of month or two that could have really gone either way. And yeah, there was definitely a bit of relief there for all concerned, but the players thoroughly deserved that one. I mean, they've been putting in a lot of hard work in the background, as all sides do, and all players do in this league, you know. And yeah, it was much deserved. And you know, we managed to right a few wrongs that we'd been sort of getting wrong in previous games. That have meant that we've not quite got the result, but no, the team really sort of stuck at it this week, and yeah, we got the 5 points, which was very pleasing.
When you look back and reflect back, it's almost surprising in terms of how long that losing run went on, because there were times when it didn't feel like we were in no sort of depth, but and the performances were good, or we were good for 60 minutes, and for different reasons, different weeks, the actual result was getting away from us. The performances have been there quite a lot, and it's just been one element, or it could be just, you know, a sort of a changing point in the game that's not quite gone our way, or a breakaway try. And I think that it felt rather, you know, it's never nice to lose, but it came away feeling like, yeah, we've got the defeat, but it doesn't quite feel like that. We've got the performance, we've got the sort of spirit within the side, and then this week we were able to actually put on, which was probably our most complete performance of the season, and do that for 80 minutes. So now it's, you know, we're in a tough run of games, and we're in a tough situation this season. We're effectively playing the top three sides 3 weeks in a row with Rotherham, Richmond, and Rams, and you know, now we're playing top of the league last week in Richmond, and now as a consequence of the result, we're playing top of the league again this week. So we know that we're in a real, you know, challenging part of the season. So you know, it's good to get the points last week, and then, you know, gives us a lot of a building block for this week.
And I guess as well, Jonathan, you know, when you do get a result like that, it just shows how capable this Sale FC side is, doesn't it? Because people who follow National One will know they've seen you towards the top of the table, and there was really close fights with Coldy and Rams and Cambridge as well. So even though maybe the last season and a half hasn't followed suit in that manner, Saturday's result just goes to show that Sale FC are more than capable of climbing this table.
Absolutely. I think sometimes you can sit there scratching your head and not quite understand it yourselves, really. And it does take a little bit of time as a coaching setup, and for us to understand that and to be able to put that across to the players, for them to understand it as well. So sometimes these are a bit cyclical, aren't they? And you know, we'll touch on things, I'm sure, later about our relationship with Sharks, and that's a cyclical cycle as well in terms of how that works. And, you know, some players move on, and you just got to try and find the best sort of within your squad in terms of recruitment and making sure that you're planning ahead, and really looking at that at an early stage as to what you're going to be needing. So I think we certainly recruited well in the summer, but that comes with its own sort of, I won't say pitfalls, but work-ons in terms of making sure that they fully integrate into the side. And that can take a season. It can take 2 seasons, you know. And I think where we are at the minute, we feel we've got the squad that's capable of pushing and being fighting up towards the top of this league, which is shown by the result on Saturday. But yeah, I think it just shows that we have the capability, and we've just got to align that with our full intent to really push on now.
Yeah, and that challenge, Anthony, I know you and Jonathan, if I'm right in saying, have been at the club since the level 7 days, sort of 12, 13 years ago. So I guess that challenge is always new every year, and striking that balance, as Jonathan said there, is absolutely key to the club taking strides forward, which we've obviously seen since you guys took over.
Yeah, I think, like I say, it seems like a long time. I think I've aged a bit in those 12 years. Still didn't have hair back then, though. So, but keeping it fresh and keeping everything hungry was probably easier in the earlier days because we were getting lots of success, and you're always going to, we were going up through the leagues, and we've reached level 3 from level 7, like we said, and then obviously been really close to getting into level 2 by one bonus point in any one of 4 games that season. That's how fine the margins were. I think now, and up until last season was the first season we'd never actually stepped forward every single season, whether that just be in league positions in the league or we've gone into the next league. So I think for us, it's been probably the last couple of years the most challenging. So yeah, it has been a bit of a head scratch, and we've sort of looked at everything across the board and how we approach it, and player recruitment. And I think part of it is it is harder in the Northwest potentially than the clubs in the South. That the talent pool is definitely smaller, and that's not, there's lots of brilliant players come out of the Northwest that represent in the Premiership in England, as we know. But I think in terms of, within an hour's journey time, you're not getting particularly very far because of especially the transport infrastructure that we don't have as well up here as you do in the South. So I think that, we've always got to be at the top trying to get the best players that are available in the Northwest to us. And over the years, we're competing with Caldy, with Sedgley. You've got Lim coming up really strong behind us. So the pool is definitely smaller. So I think constantly going forward, we've been pretty good at attracting the best, some of the better players in the Northwest. We've got really good infrastructure, good facilities, and we hope that the environment is welcoming, and it's an environment people want to join. But yeah, it's the challenge that everyone's got. Going back to football, you look at Man United in the time with Ferguson. That's a real example of, looks from the outside, they keep getting success every year, but the amount of work that has to go into that, it shows you now what a phenomenal feat that is. To maintain those successes is difficult.
No, really well put there, Anthony. And I guess something that has been kind of a growing, or maybe even a constant thing during the time you and Jonathan have been at the club, is that kind of relationship you guys have had with Sale Sharks. And you quite rightly mentioned there, Anthony, there are so many Northwest clubs who seem to be heading in the right direction. Obviously, Caldy have done so well in the Championship. Lim second, joint top at the moment in National 2 North. You and Sedge in National 1 as well. So how important do the club see that relationship with Sale Sharks? Because listen to Alex Sanderson talk about it. He puts so much importance on these local clubs in the Northwest and these young players developing within kind of the infrastructure you talked about before.
Yeah, I think it's important for all the clubs in the Northwest, and there's only, I think, rugby across the board. There's participation has dropped, as we know, and there's what the sport needs is all the good players playing every week, and the game can't really afford to have too many players sat on the sidelines not playing, whether that be from Premiership all the way down. So yeah, our relationship with Sharks, like Caldy, Sedgley, Filed, but the Lim, they're all working with Sharks and utilising the dual registration. For us, can I speak for the way we operate it? It's what we require from that player is that they give full buy-in to our environment that we're in. So yes, they may be contracted in Sharks, and there's the odd time where if they've had a full day there, there's limitations on maybe some of the training that they can do on a Tuesday, for example. But what we require from them is full buy-in into our squad, and we try and work with Sharks early in the season to get an idea of what players will be available for the majority of the season. Obviously, then you have your Prem Cup, and you pretend, if they're successful, you get England's 20s called up. But it's been proven, and we've worked with it for sort of nearly 12 years now. And I think when you get it right, it can be beneficial for the Premiership club, the National League club, and importantly the player and their progression. It gets them playing week in rugby, week in, week out. It gets them battle hardened for the realities of playing week in, week out at the top level. and it helps them grow and develop the skills that they need, so that then when they get the opportunity, they are match ready. And we were looking at it last week. I think we've had 9 players that have played for Sale FC that have gone on to make full international appearances for England and Scotland, and that is just that's great for us that we've had those quality players come through. Good that we've been able to help them and they've been able to help us.
Yeah, it only strengthens our game 100%, and I think that making sure that they get that equal opportunity to be able to push forward, it's only going to grow and benefit our game and make it stronger. And it sort of goes, it comes from the other way as well, in terms of, yes, we might have some of these academy players coming in, but it also helps to sort of increase our sort of, our performances on the field, in terms of then growing the game and attracting more people to come and watch the game, get them down to Haywood Road and other clubs across the country. So I think all in all, it's great to have those players around, and that we can play a bit of a part in their sort of development as well.
On to Saturday now, Jonathan, if you don't mind. And I know, looking at the kind of fixtures last night, that it's only been 6 home games that you've played this season. And I think Anthony touched on it before, kind of the block of, or the run you've got coming up now. I think it's 5 of the next 8 are at Haywood Road. So I bet you're glad to be back at home this weekend. And I guess the place will be absolutely buzzing after last weekend's result against Richmond.
Absolutely, yeah. It felt like we hadn't been at home for some time when we played on Saturday. So no, it was great to be back there. And now we can, try and fill Haywood Road, get as many people down there as we can do, and no better place to start than against Rams, who we've always had fantastic fixtures against. I think earlier in the season, we had a slightly uncharacteristic game in terms of we got nilled. It's not very many of those that we've come across over the years. But all credit to Rams, they're a quality side, aren't they? And they've been up there for the last 3-4 seasons, challenging for that promotion to the Championship. So, they come to us top of the table. So now we're really, really looking forward to it, and it always brings out the best in our squad, generally, apart from earlier this season. So, no, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and just on kind of that kind of coming up against Rams, Anthony, as Jonathan said there, it kind of brings the best out of you in your squad. And I'm kind of one for stats on this show, and I like looking past the past meetings. But I think you guys have won 6 of the last 8 against Rams since you've been in the same league, and I think you've got a pretty decent record against them at home as well. When you have been going for those titles, you have been able to get the upper hand, and we all know on this call that Rams are a quality side, don't we? But you have been able to be a thorn in their side over the last few years. So does that come into your thinking as coaches going into this week, that you have had the upper hand in that way, or do you kind of have to part that a little bit and treat it as another game?
I think realistically we're in a different place to where we've been with previous encounters. So last season, the 2 seasons before, we were huge title contenders. So it was huge. I think we're probably not so much on their radar in terms of we're down at the bottom. We've been sort of fighting towards the bottom end of the league the last couple of years. It's nice that we've got a record like that, but that's all history. And at the moment, we're going into it off the back of a 33-0 loss away from home. I mean, the bus did set on fire on the way there, so we're not making excuses, but it was a bit of a strange day. And even in that game, it was actually quite tight. Apart from there was a 15-minute period either side of half time where Rams blew us away, and outside of that sort of 15-20 period, there wasn't any points scored. But yet they are a quality side, and they've been able to maintain that they've been fighting at the top 3 years in a row now, and as we found, that third year was difficult, and this year they've continued that, so they keep refreshing. We know a lot thereabouts of our past encounters, but we've got to focus on ourselves. We've got to keep layering on from the successes we've had over the last couple of weeks in the games and the performances, and not going away from the things that have been working, and just layer little bits on top as we go forward. So yeah, it's past is definitely the past with this. We are in a situation where we're fighting for points, and they're fighting at the top. So I think it's going to be another great day down at Haywood Road, and hopefully a great battle between the 2 sides who've got some good history.
A massive thanks then to both Jonathan and Anthony for their time there. Fascinating to hear how the club have looked to adapt and evolve over the last couple of seasons, because, their league finishes, their league positions over the last couple of seasons haven't been where Sale FC would probably have liked to be, given they were challenging for the title a few years ago. But results like last Saturday against Richmond show Sale FC are more than capable of climbing the league ladder in the second half of the season. And really nice as well to hear the continued relationship Sale FC have with Sale Sharks, which allows emerging talents like Alfie Longstaff, who shone so brightly last weekend for Sale FC against Richmond, with the opportunity to gain valuable game time, valuable experiences, and also to hone his skills at a good level like National 1 and in National League Rugby. And of course, Sale FC and Rams should be a brilliant contest on Saturday. And at the time of recording, the pre-match lunch is nearly sold out. So that tells you all you need to know about the excitement and the fervour around this one on Saturday afternoon. So if you are thinking about heading down to Hayward Road, we'd absolutely urge you to, because it is certainly one of the standout games we have across National 1 and National 2 on this reserve weekend. But in terms of National 1, there are 3 other fixtures alongside Rams and Sale FC, including one of Rams' title rivals, Richmond, who travel to bottom of the table, Darlington Moden Park. Now, Richmond, of course, will want a reaction in the northeast, while DMP's round 17 clash last week against Blackheath was called off due to a frozen pitch. Elsewhere, 7th place Birmingham Moseley welcome Esher to the Midlands. We've seen some tight encounters at Billesley Common this season, and Adam Balding's side were on the wrong end of one last week against Plymouth Albion as they lost 33-32. So Birmingham Moseley will be aiming for a response on Saturday. And the aforementioned Plymouth Albion, who are up to 5th after making it 5 wins in a row with that win against Birmingham Moseley, they'll be aiming to extend their purple patch of form when they go up against a Leicester Lions side, who will be aiming to halt a 4-game winless run.